Brentford are still buzzing around for Brennan Johnson, and the reports today say that they're considering a 50 million bid. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest transfer news. In today's stories, we'll be covering off the latest on Brennan Johnson. Yes, we're back on the Brennan Johnson trail, as clubs are now thinking and seriously considering matching Forest's asking price. But will that be enough to pry him away from the City ground? We got an update on a little bit of a wonderkid. Maybe wonderkid's too strong of a word. A Brazilian striker that's been linked with Nottingham Forest and rumours of a bid going in for him. And of course, we'll have the latest on what's happening with Willian and Sanguera. And yeah, guess what? We were right. Before we get started, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And as always, if you haven't already, go grab your tickets for the live podcast, which will be happening on the 6th of August at 3 p.m. at the Trent Nav. All right, guys, let's get into this. So with this Brennan Johnson story, look, I told you weeks ago that this is definitely going to rumble on throughout the summer. This is going to be that summer story that probably we get sick of. I mean, Hendo's the one I'm already sick of now, and I want him, by the way. But this Jono one is clearly going to rumble through. And because there's going to be like pluses and minuses for it from both sides, as we told you guys in the FFP video from the other day, that Forest are probably quite close to FFP limitations, and they may need to sell some assets to get themselves comfortably in the green. And Jono obviously is the prized asset along with the likes of MGW. So the links have been solid from Brentford and from Villa. Brentford, we know, a couple of weeks ago bidded 30 million, which got instantly rejected from Nottingham Forest. And the reports today are that they're looking to break their transfer record even, not budget. I mean, I don't see them having 50 million, but we'll come on to that. And bidding a bid for about 40 to 50 million. They seem to think that if they went in around the 40 million pound mark, they could probably start tempting Forest into at least having the discussion about letting Brennan Johnson go to West London. And the real question is that enough for him? I think Forest would probably look to deal at around 45 million pounds. Forest have come out and said Jono is not for sale. And that's the right stance for Forest to take, even if he is for sale. I'm not saying he is or he isn't. But in any negotiation, you don't open or come to the table and say, here's our prize asset, we want to sell him. You don't. It puts you in a position of weakness. So Forest have said that. And remember, Jono is contracted for another 3 or so years until the end of 2026. So it's not like Forest have to be in a rush to sell him, but Forest may need to sell him because of FFP. And because of the length of that contract, that's going to cause the price to go up naturally. Now, we've said many, many times, I've always compared him or this deal to the likes of Gordon, and then everyone else seems to have copied that example, which makes me think it's a good example, so we'll stick with it. With Gordon going to Newcastle for 40 million last year, and Jono being about the same age, roughly speaking the same position, but with more goals and more assists in this Premier League season than Gordon did, then surely you would use that as the benchmark price. And for me, that's where I would start if I was Nottingham Forest. So I think 14 million would be an absolute bare minimum that Forest would consider. And that 40 million would need add-ons. And I think the most important add-on, if this were to happen, would be a sell-on fee as well. Because I think we can all agree that if Jono stays or he goes Villa, Brentford, whatever, then in 2 or 3 years' time, he's going to be worth maybe double the money. So, you know, this Premier League transfer fees are just crazy at the moment. So Forest, if they do a deal, will, in my opinion, have to put on a percentage of the sell-on clause. Now, is Brentford the right club for him? Absolutely not. There's no way if I was advising Jono on leaving Forest, would I say go to Brentford. When you look at it pound for pound, Yes, Brentford finished higher up in the league last season than Nottingham Forest did, but they're only a season or two ahead of Forest. I mean, let's not forget they were in the Championship with us a couple of seasons back. And their stadium is crap. I call it the B-Tech Stadium. And their infrastructure isn't great. The best thing they've got going for them is they've got one of the better managers in the Premier League. And he can get a tune out of a lot of players. Now, if he was to go... Now, imagine this scenario. Let's just say, I don't know, Arsenal sack Arteta, and then they go and get Frank from Brentford. You could then quite easily see Brentford collapsing in and around their infrastructure because he's the glue that's holding them together. So just that in itself is very risky for a young kid to then go to Brentford and, you know, Big Sam comes in or something and takes over. That would scarper his development. On top of that, if you look realistically at what's happened last season and what they can offer to Jono for this coming season, they have nothing more they can offer him than Forest currently offer him because they did not get European football. They will not be able to invest hugely into their squad. And their progression may even go backwards this year because they've lost their prolific striker Ivan Toney for pretty much half the season. So I don't expect to see Brentford firing up the table like they did last season. On top of that, I remember when we played them at the City Ground in the 2-2 draw, which I got very lucky with. Bloody Steve Cook playing, what the hell. They were in and around where Forest were. And it wasn't until after the World Cup that they went on a bit of run and settled themselves as a comfortable mid-table team. And that's exactly what they are. A mid-table team with low expectations, low fan base, low priorities. They will not get European football, and they will never be a big name club. I don't even see them as a Premier League club. I really don't. They just want to, it's like a Luton. It really is. But anyway, this won't happen to Brentford. Unless Jono really, for some weird reason, fancies living in West London, then maybe. The realistic ones for me are Villa. And Villa are very keen on Johnson. We told you yesterday about Diaby. We told you how they're probably going to break their transfer record on him. And the stories today are, not only do they want Diaby, it's not an either or now between Diaby and Jono. It's Diaby and Jono. And that's the worrying thing. Villa is the worrying one in this whole conundrum. But it is, in a way, good news. If Villa were the only ones coming in, then you haven't really got anyone who's having a bidding war. So if Forest are going to sell Jono, the point here is they need to play Brentford and Villa off each other. Use Brentford as that little, pointless club to push Villa's price up. Now, having said all of that, no ways or means am I saying sell Jono. But what I am saying is football is a business. Forest, can I remind you, have only sold Samba with any significant money in the last 2 seasons, 4.28 million. Forest have to get income coming into that column to balance the books for FFP. Now, Jono isn't necessarily the way they have to do that. We could sell O'Brien, we could sell Dennis, we could sell all the kind of deadwood around, the fringes of the club, etc., of the team. That stuff could happen. And that way you kind of amalgamate the total through those rather than just selling one player. But it's hard to get rid of a lot of players in one transfer window. You see clubs struggling to do it so many times. So, coming back to the Jono thing, do I give this story any credence? Yes, I do. But do I think he'll go Brentford? No. Do I think Villa are the dangerous options? Yes, I really do. And I think Forest would seriously consider a bid of over 40 million, probably 45 million plus. And that would probably be enough to see Jono go. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Matheus Nascimento from Botafogo in Brazil has been linked heavily with Nottingham Forest, and there are rumours that a 7.75 million bid has been put in for the young striker. The striker who's played 66 games and scored 6 goals, and I know those stats don't sound amazing, but we'll get to it in a second, is part and could be part of this new project that Forest are doing, where they're sourcing in these players from Brazil. And you guys know how I feel about the Brazilian players. I absolutely love them. And especially at this young age, at 19, he could be the perfect profile and bringing him across into European football. Now, do I know a lot about him? No. But do we have sources who can help us on this? Absolutely. So if this one does progress, we've got a YouTuber who can come on and speak to us about it. So don't worry. However, we're not going to do that yet because obviously these are only rumors. And I think that's the key word. A lot of this is rumors still. This one is definitely just a rumor. If this bid has gone in, I don't actually believe it has. I do believe that Forest are scouting him and Forest are contemplating putting a bid. I don't think it's gone to the stage of bid, regardless of what the reports are saying. Now, what do we get with this player? Well, what you get is a creative, flary player who's not necessarily a striker, like an out-and-out 9, and that's the point I was making about the goals. What he's really good at is bringing other players into play, wingers in particular. He can kind of play with his back to goal. He loves a back heel flick. He's very good with, like, if he was on FIFA, he'd be 5-star skill, put it that way. A lot of elasticos, a lot of flair play, exactly what you want to see in a Brazilian player. He still hasn't kind of bulked out in terms of his physique. He's only 19, but there is a lot of hype and a lot of potential around him. So do I know too much about him? No, but I know enough to see that I've been impressed with him. And the price that they're talking about, around that £8 million mark, isn't really a huge transfer fee. And again, this could fit that Danilo mold that Forest were doing last season and did extremely successfully. That, for me, is probably one of the best transfer structure deals Forest have ever done in all my years of supporting them that I can ever remember. It was just very, very shrewd business. Unlike the Chris Wood deal, anyway. So, would I take him? Yes, I would. I think there is plenty of potential and plenty of room to grow, both on the pitch and price tag wise for this one. And these are the kind of projects that Forest have to do. Forest have to generate income from players they bring in for cheap and sell for a hefty sell-on fee. And they've got to wait until the academy system catches up with this, because this is probably a quicker way to source income than those players coming through the academy. Because once they start to come through, then they start to get pushed out on loan. Then they have the loan season to prove themselves. Then they come back and then maybe potentially they're sold for a few million. But with these Brazilian players that Forest could bring in, they could buy them for 8 or 9 million. Give him 6 months. Sometimes 6 months is enough. Look at Casado. I know he's not Brazilian, but same kind of scenario. Brought in for a couple of million, looking to be sold for somewhere between 60 and 100 million. One player that breaks through. If you were to buy 3 or 4 of these young Brazilians at low cost, if one of them succeeds, then you could literally quadruple your money within the space of 12 months. So I do like this model. I do like the design of how we're going about it. And it's the structure that the Portuguese clubs use. You see the Portuguese who are very closely tied with all these South American players and teams. And then they're feeder clubs into the likes of Barca, Real Madrid and the Premier League. So it's a really good model. And I do actually like this model. But in terms of the player himself, he definitely has the potential. He definitely has that 5-star skills, which I love to see. But is he good enough and strong enough yet for the Premier League? I don't think so. He has played for the Brazilian under 21s, I think. He's made 6 appearances. He scored a goal there as well. So overall, there's plenty to get excited about with this one. But if you know him, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. All right, so on to Willian. And after all the fun and games of yesterday and the whole fake news from the BBC about him being basically having done his medical, and then TalkSport getting on the bandwagon and everything, it's come out today that Fulham are very confident that they'll be the ones to secure the signature. Hey, guess what? That's what we told you guys yesterday. So I don't expect Willian to become a Forest player. However, the only thing that's holding us with a chance on it is the length of contract. Fulham are offering him a shorter term contract, and Forest are offering him longevity and job security, if you like. And Forest are going double that contract and then the option to go to the Greeks afterwards. And that is a bit tempting for him, but he is settled and happy in West London. Now, if he was after the money, he's also got offers from Saudi on the table. I mean, even I've got an offer from bloody Saudi, man. Everyone seems to have one. But I can't see this one coming to... I can't see Willian coming to Nottingham Forest. I think he's going to end up at Fulham. But just to confirm again, and if you hadn't seen it because we released it late last night, go check out the video from yesterday evening. We'll put it at the end of the this video, where we just confirmed to you all that medical and all that BS going around was absolute crap and wasn't happening. So, Willian, if you're excited about him, I'm not saying it's dead. I'm not saying it's dead, but it's very strongly and likely going to be going to Fulham. Okay, so that brings you up to date with your latest Nottingham Forest transfer news. Don't forget the kit is coming out as well. And yeah, there will be no sponsor on that kit. It's just, I'm sure, well, we showed you the pictures yesterday. Those are the kits, guys. And yeah, look, once it's out, I'll let you guys all know exactly what I think about it and the whole sponsor issue. But anyway, yeah, so don't forget, if you haven't already, to hit that like button. Wow, that was a smooth transition. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. We'll catch you on the next video. And come on, you Reds.